Yes, but what Paul is outlining here are works of the flesh. However, in Philippians chapter 3, regarding his relationship to the law as a Pharisee, he states twice as one having complied in the flesh. Complied in the flesh, which is according to Hebrews 7:16 and the law of the fleshy inner aim, which concerns the preceding covenant that was given through Moses. So we have to understand that the word flesh is not limited to only the works of the flesh, but also the law that was given through Moses, which was for the flesh. Paul makes a distinction here in Romans 7:25 in relationship to the slaving the law of God, but in the flesh, the law of phalanx. So here the law of God is not referring to the law of the fleshy inner aim we just read in Hebrews 7:16. Okay, so the law of God here is the same as 1 Corinthians 9:21. So Paul said, not being without law of God in the law of Christ, where back here he says, and to the Jews I became as a Jew, which again, Paul was a Jew, okay? A Pharisee, as complied in the flesh, where he says here that though not being myself under the law. So he became as a Jew so that he may gain Jews to those under the law of covenant of Moses, as under the law, though not myself being under the law. But here he is not without the law of God in the law of Christ. He's making a distinction between the preceding covenant and the new, better covenant. In 2 Corinthians, Paul writes, but if the service of the deaf, having been struck in stones, etc., is contrasted with the service of the Spirit, we have the service of the death, the service of the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of the life in Jesus Christ, according to the service of the Spirit, freed you from the law of the phalanx and of death, which was out of the law of Moses, because it was given for the flesh to keep. It was given for those who were under that covenant to establish what was termed a law of righteousness. Romans 9:31, but Israel pursuing a law of righteousness did not come prior into this law, which is through the law of faithing and the righteousness out of God on account of faithing, which he's contrasting the two covenants here, which the law of righteousness, for they unknowing in regards to righteousness of God and seeking to establish their own righteousness, which is self-righteousness. Paul says to be found in him, Christ, not having my righteousness, my own self-righteousness that is out of law, but that through the faithing of Christ, the righteousness out of God on account of faithing, which Israel pursued this law according to the law of the phalanx and of the death, where Christ now has come into the better covenant. It's superior, okay? Because it's not a compliance in the flesh of what all the Torah keepers, law abiders call obedience to the law. The obedience to the law of Moses is what Paul is terming complied in the flesh. Which this is not the works of the flesh of Galatians chapter 5, which you're referencing.